Good afternoon, blog viewers. We're going to do a rare afternoon post here today, and it is quite hot, so I hope everyone's staying cool. But today we're going to cycle back to love and make a number of remarks about love that I think are somewhat different, but in the same sort of continuous vein as the some of the other remarks made in the love series so far. So far, in many of the love posts, I think we had made a number of statements about the state of love today, and most of them were rather negative. I became concerned based on many of the in the other posts discussions about pure form, mind-made realities, nothing, and pure substance and observable reality, those kinds of concepts. I became concerned that the statements made about love, and often rather negative, were pure form and had been made out of nothing and had no reality. And so I went back and actually I didn't go back, but so I went on, did some research on it and pulled up some interesting information on the issue. And as always, information is what prevents statements from being pure form. So I pulled up some information on the issue, and I actually think I was right about the state of love today, it being rather negative. Not only in the States, but increasingly all over the world. It's quite bad. There is a UK survey of married couples. I think they surveyed rather somewhat recent. 5,000 couples, married couples were surveyed. And the average couple responded that married couple responded that they gave up on romance within marriage within about 2 years and 6 months of being married. 2 years and 6 months. By the third anniversary, 83% reported that they were not even bothering to celebrate their anniversary date. Half said they felt undervalued by the other person. 70% of men said they no longer felt bad leaving clothes all over the house. Being untidy. 80% said they no longer bothered to put the toilet seat back down, which is a random fact, but it was in the survey. 60% of couples, this was pretty surprising, 60% of these couples said they hadn't been surprised with a romantic night out since getting married. That's quite a long time. And that's marriages. But the key fact, the one that's important, is that within 2 years and 6 months, most in the survey said they had given up on any sort of romance or grand love. Now, if you look at relationships, the story is not much better. I think in the U.S. now, the average relationship ends after about 3 to 5 months. That's it, pretty short. And then if you look at purely single people, there was a survey done of single people in the States, and over 50% of singles in America, single people, have not been on a date in more than 2 years. That's a freaking long time to go without even attempting to kindle something romantic with another human being. So these statistics and this information that I pulled up, by no means the whole extent of it. These were things I found fairly quickly. But these clearly reveal that the statements I had made before were not pure form, and that there is something really wrong about the state of love today in the States and perhaps other places. And there is observable reality to back up the concern that the state of love today is not good. So what can we do about this, or how can we use our mind to think and try to find a better solution that's not being found currently by the current practices? And so today I wanted to address two big questions today, two very big questions that I think are the beginning points. Certainly in a 20 or 30 minute post, I'm not going to be able to answer or crack this riddle, but I wanted to at least get some important concepts out there to try to perfect our understanding of love. But two big questions today. The first question is to me it's a fascinating question, and it's a very huge question with respect to love, and perhaps the hardest question you could pose about love. And that question is love pure form? Is love a made in the mind nothing? whenever the mind starts to do nothing, then I think you get yourself into trouble. You feel pain, disappointment, etc. when you start to do nothing. So the slogan could be, where your pain is, there is your nothing. And I think there is a lot of pain everywhere with love, as we've seen in a lot of these statistics, and just everyone's common observance of reality can show that. So maybe there are reasons to suspect that love is actually a concept that's conceptually, it's pure form. And if it's not pure form, what observable reality confirms the presence of love? What is the pure substance and information that can show you or confirm to you that two people are in love? Now, in a sense, the word love, going back to whether to try to answer this question, in a sense, the word love, the actual word, is pure form. Obviously, it's just a word, and like all words, are pure form. But that doesn't really end the analysis. Clearly, we know, one thing we know is that there are a bunch of activities and emotions that people that we ordinarily think of as being in love experience together. They go out to eat together, they shop together, they share a house, they share finances, they engage in certain physical activities together, they hold hands, they miss each other, they listen to each other's problems, they have children together and raise them and put them to school, visit each other's families for Thanksgiving, etc., etc. These are all things that most people do that are in love. These are activities that they engage in together. But is that all there is? Is that all there is the key question. Is let's call all those events and things events A through Z. Those events, even those emotions A through Z, are all real. They all have substance within reality. Perhaps the emotions less so, but to some extent, obviously, that even the emotions do. But is there anything beyond these events A through Z? Is there anything that really exists as a reality beyond the events A through Z that should be considered love? Is there something beyond those tangible events that individually no one would consider love? Just shopping together or sharing a house together, sharing a bank account together. No one would say, "Oh, that's if you have that, you're definitely in love." Those events are not, determinative. But is there beyond those events? Is there anything that really exists as a reality that should be considered love, or is that extra feeling of love? Once you get beyond those events, is that simply pure form? Is that a mind-created nothing? And that's a really hard question. That is a really hard question. It's not at all something that can susceptible to an easy answer here. So if this thing love really exists over and above events A through Z, if it really exists as a reality, then the other question is, what is its nature? How real is it? And so I'm going to try to tackle this question in a few of the other posts as we continue in this series, but I'll give some initial remarks here. And I think that love has a very high probability of being pure form, a made in the mind nothing, if certain observable realities are lacking in the relationship. And what are those things? And most important is a constant, meaningful communication between two people regarding all important aspects of each person's life. When that is gone, I would say it's very, very hard to say there's still love as a reality. Of course, it can exist as a form. Then you're just in the world, when you take out the communication, I think you're just in the world of cohabitation and remaining together out of inertia or even worse, fear. The second thing is if there is continual fighting and bickering. Not, of course, the isolated disagreement or whatever that always pops up, but huge, constant, and perpetual blow-ups where people are threatening to leave each other and the like. It's hard to say that kind of activity is consistent with one person loving another and vice versa. Totally hard to say that's consistent. Third is the inability of either person to see the other person's viewpoint on things, even after you've been with that person for a while. If you can't put yourself in another person's mental state, Cohen has a great way of saying this. If you can't feel your way into the other person, then there's a pretty high likelihood you're not paying attention to who they are You're not attending to information of what they care about. And if you're not doing that, you probably don't care about the person very much. And again, it's hard to say that there's love as a reality in that scenario either. So 3 things that there's a big tell, I would say, is the lack of meaningful communication, a lot of constant fighting and bickering, and the inability to put yourself into the shoes of the other person, to feel your way into the person. If you can't do that, then I think you get closer to love being pure form in those cases. Second big question is, to me, is what is the biggest challenge involved in love? Everyone obviously says love is hard, and that's almost universally said, love is hard. But why is it so hard? And I think there's 2 reasons that I want to suggest today here. One is that, as we've repeatedly mentioned on the blog, written creatures, DNA-driven creatures, including humans, are error-prone. The unwritten, the sun, for example, is perfect and errorless, but the written are error-prone. Now, when the written is by itself alone and living by itself, it is still error-prone. That doesn't change. But these errors actually don't cause anyone else any issue when the written is by itself. No one is even there other than that single person to notice those errors. But when you're with another written creature, when they live with you, then they see it, and they notice it. And the other written and at the same time, the other written creature is also error-prone. So they are contributing additional errors to the household that would not have been there before. So you have an increase in the number of errors, and you have more errors, and you have more people now to observe the errors and see the errors and actually experience the brunt of the errors and be angered by the errors and be hurt by the errors. There's now another written to observe it. Otherwise, it would have happened, but it wouldn't have been observed in that sense. It would have been experienced as an error by another person. And that's a bad recipe, I think, unless both people are committed to recognizing that their actions, whatever it is, were error and eradicating the error. If there's a commitment to see those types of actions as error rather than just cute foibles of the personality, there's a commitment to see that those errors for what they are rather than interesting quirks or whatever. That helps. But I think few people have this type of self-knowledge, humility, and ability to step outside of themselves to see their actions as error-prone. Very, very rare for people to see their actions as error-prone, despite the fact that the written is incredibly error-prone. But yet, despite this fact, few of the written are able to see themselves as error-prone. This is a remarkable form of self-deception. Second reason that I think love is hard, or the second biggest challenge involved with love is again related to some of the concepts we've been talking about, and that is that love involves a changing environment, living environment, over many years. This is over time, changing environment and changing two persons. So the initial environment and the initial personalities of the two people that fell in love are not going to be frozen in stone in any sense as time progresses. So over many years there will be changes of many sorts, perhaps gradual in nature, but still real changes that must be addressed. Neither the environment nor the two people are ever remaining the same. The living environment could get better or worse. You could move to a bigger home on the, quote, positive side, although, the question how good that really is. But anyway, you could move to a bigger home in a nice, quote, nicer neighborhood on the positive side, quote, positive side. Or on the other hand, you could, where you live, your country could be racked by a civil war. And that would be obviously on the negative side. So you'd have to deal with real fear. So that would be a change in your environment that would obviously pressure the relationship. So the living environment could get better or worse, and the two people involved could get better or worse. one person could develop a drug or alcohol addiction, and that would obviously not be good. While the other could develop an interest in meditation, which would actually help that person because they had been anxiety prone and stressed out, but meditation helped them to gain inner peace or what have you, and that would be good. So, but in the beginning, the point is that in the beginning, you can't see this. You can't see the. You never see the written. The written can never see the future, what's going to happen as incoming, streaming in information. That's pure substance. Can't see the future, and to think that you can see the future is a huge error. Huge error. One of the biggest errors, because you're seeing nothing, which is the future, because it's not happened yet. You're seeing nothing as a reality. You're literally seeing it in your mind as a reality. That's a big problem. So you can't see the future as incoming information. So you can't know what are going to be the changes in the environment that you'll have to deal with, or what will be the changes in you and the other person that's going to affect things. You can't see those things. So I think the only saving grace is that you are with someone that is committed to what I would say is keen perception of reality, and an outstanding communicator of what's going on within reality. That way, if you're perceptive of what's going on and you're communicating to the other person what's going on, both within the environment and within both people, then you can start to come up with solutions or make adjustments to the new realities and the new environments that you're facing. You can sort of be a step ahead of the curve before they become sort of one huge problem. Not sure you can do this for all changes. Some things might be just totally out of each person's control. Some horrific events like a kid getting sick or what have you. But I think for many things, you can start to see the changes for good or bad happening in the environment. And if it's good, well, you don't really need to just praise the person. You don't need to really worry about it, but or benefit from it. But if it's bad, I think you have to step in front of it, see it, communicate it, observe the reality, and try to make changes within reality that would actually and the key point is make changes within reality, not just discuss things and reach verbal agreements that aren't implemented, but to really change behavior and to change actions within the world of being. And I think that is really the only saving grace there in terms of what happens over time. So I hope these comments were helpful. I think it somewhat moved the love series in a slightly different direction. And since it's very hot here and it's only about 2, I think I'm going to head to the beach. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.